Good morning and assalamu alaikum. It is 10 o'clock, it's Monday morning, and you are listening to Inspire FM. Where else? It's the Urban Cube show. I'm Shemiza, taking you all the way up to 11 o'clock. And as always, we've got a wonderful guest who'll be joining me on the Urban Cube show to talk about their wonderful creative journey and also joining me on a special series around how we are using art as a means of activism and solidarity. The Urban Cube is a show that celebrates creative conversations with trailblazing Muslims that are local, national, and international. And on today's show, I am absolutely delighted to be joined by a very exceptional creative. She is the multi-talented Shaheen Kasmani, and she's going to be talking to us about her recent Patterns of Palestine art workshop. Now, Shaheen is an artist, creative producer, curator, and educator with an MA in visual, traditional, and Islamic arts. Her interests lie in narratives around coloniality and heritage, art, architecture, and patterns. Shaheen was the lead curator for the Ramadan Pavilion at the V&A Museum and co-created the Past Is Now exhibition at Birmingham Museum. She's also exhibited her work in the UK and Europe and guest lectures at universities in the US, and was published earlier this year, and is passionate about centering overlooked narratives and all things creative. Wow. I'm absolutely delighted to be having Shaheen joining us on the Urban Cube this morning, all the way up to 11 o'clock. And we're going to be having lots of creative conversations, especially around her creative journey, and talking about this extraordinary workshop that she's done called Patterns of Palestine, which was at the weekend. Now, this is a very interesting workshop because it looked at the geometric designs around the Al-Aqsa Masjid. So we'll be finding out a little bit more about what that was. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask Shaheen or myself, then feel free to contact us on WhatsApp on the Inspire FM studios, and we'll be more than happy to answer those questions. We are Facebook Live as well, folks. Facebook Live on the Inspire FM Facebook page. Leave any comments there. It is only audio. There is no visuals. And I'm doing the show from Zoom at home. As is our wonderful guest as well. So if there's any technical glitches, do forgive us, but bear with us. I'm sure the show will be plain sailing. We are beaming out to the wonderful people in Luton surrounding areas this morning, as well as Peterborough Salam Radio and Sheffield's Link FM. So massive big salams to everybody listening in from there. The weather has been a little bit dreary. It's raining. And it was a little bit cold yesterday. So I hope you guys are all keeping warm and full of energy and full of positivity as well. This show is about positive energy, and as always, our guests are going to be not just motivating you but also inspiring you with their journeys. So without further ado, I think it's time to introduce my wonderful guest, the absolutely wonderful Shaheen Kasmani. I'm so delighted to have her joining me this morning, and we'll find out where she's joining in from. Assalamu alaikum, Shaheen.
Wa alaikum salam, Shemiza. How are you?
I'm super well. Thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, I want to say, where are you tuning in? Well, where are you zooming in from?
Oh, no, thank you for having me. I'm in North London.
Lovely. Now, I always ask my guests on the show, describe where you're sat.
I don't think anyone wants to see where I'm sat. I'm at my desk, which is really messy. I've got half a copy next to me. I've got some piles of books and pencils and paper, and the cat is beside me trying to get my attention for some more food. And it's just a very messy. My task after this is to tidy up this place because it's just a mess.
Oh, do you know what? You're a lady after my heart, because messy spaces are my places, unfortunately, because as a creative, yeah, I have a messy corner. But they do say that creative minds those that have messy spaces are actually creative geniuses. I don't know if you've heard that before.
I've heard of it, and I don't know if it's true, but I'll take it. Like I'll use whatever excuse I can get. So
Love it, love it. But
yeah.
I want to say thank you so very much for joining us. And I'm sure our listeners are quite taken aback by your bio, which is extraordinary. And we've got lots to talk about on the show this morning. The theme of the show is how we can use art as solidarity. And the series, I'm doing a special series where I'm actually speaking to wonderful creatives like yourself who are using your medium as art to just showcase your solidarity. And you've created this wonderful workshop at the weekend, Patterns of Palestine. Congratulations on the workshop. How did it go?
It went really well. I mean, we sold out, and it was a really, really lovely workshop. It took place at Rabbit's Road Press, which is an independent printing press run by women of colour, and the workshop was delivered by an amazing artist. Her name is Sarah Chowdhury, so please check out her work, who just delivered an absolutely beautiful workshop that, everyone really, really seemed to enjoy, and not only just enjoy, but like we got a lot out from it as well.
So when you say you got a lot out from it, is that yourself or is that the participants? And who were the participants and why did you think they attended?
So I think it was both. I got a lot out of it because for me, it's really nice to see how other artists run their workshops and how they deliver, especially like teaching a geometric pattern and how they go about it. So for me, that's always, good to see. And my whole sort of intention or premise really around producing these workshops, hopefully this is the first one of a series, but is about it's about solidarity and like what that means and how we can make that tangible, or how we can channel our solidarity through like the language of art, which is like what I geek out on. So there's got to be other people who do as well, and even people who don't. Maybe it, like people can sort of discover a new way, because seeing like the scenes that are happening in Gaza, in the West Bank, and even in other parts of the world, like the Congo and so on, we kind of we feel a bit helpless. We feel a bit, we can't really do anything. We go on demonstrations. We can write to our MPs. We can, boycott, which are all really good and really valid. But beyond that, like, what can we do? How do we make that solidarity tangible? So this is a bit selfish, but me kind of exploring that and working with other people to explore that, and also to sort of create a space where people can just come together and connect over something, because we talk about community quite a lot, but without community there is no solidarity, and without the collective, solidarity doesn't really make sense. So it was that as well, to bring people together. And I can't remember the last part of your question. I'm really sorry.
You have answered it beautifully. I love the fact that you are bringing a community together, and the fact that people can find a safe space to maybe express themselves through the means of art, because it is a very difficult time for many people across the world, and actually understanding and how to process what they're seeing in Gaza and the West Bank. So to be able to express themselves through creativity is definitely a wonderful way of doing so. So how did they actually do that? You spoke about this wonderful artist. Could you just give me her name again?
Her name is Sarah Chowdhury.
Sarah Chowdhury. Big shout out to Sarah Chowdhury, who led this workshop with you. So what were the participants actually doing, and why Patterns of Palestine?
So I thought of Patterns of Palestine because sort of my area of art is like traditional Islamic and sacred art and architecture. and that's kind of my art form. So, and I know other artists who also practice the same art form, Sarah being one of them. And I was just thinking, like, throughout all of this that's happening, heritage is also being destroyed. You know, we've seen like the bombing of, excuse me, the oldest church in Gaza, in Palestine, that was bombed. You know, the main mosque in Gaza was bombed. So amongst all the death and the killing, there's also the death of stories, or the death of narratives, or the death of histories. And that's really, it's so heartbreaking. So what could we do to not preserve that, or maybe preserve that, but also spread the knowledge of that heritage and of that history? If we've got that, excuse me, if we've got that knowledge, then it's kind of our duty almost to share it. And a lot of people are interested in Islamic art or geometric patterns and how to draw them, and don't know where to start, or just don't really have that much access to them. So to have a workshop, to have someone lead you through drawing this pattern, and the pattern that Sarah chose was a stained glass, the pattern that is on stained glass in the Al-Aqsa Masjid complex. So it's part of the Al-Qibli Masjid, and it was destroyed by a previous attack on the masjid by the occupation forces. And local artisans and craftspeople restored that. And it's a really beautiful stained glass window that the participants drew step by step with Sarah, using a compass, a ruler, and a pencil. So really like rudimentary kind of materials, but then, and quite a fairly complicated construction, but then out of it emerges this really beautiful pattern, which it's kind of like let's use this to explore the heritage and the history. Sarah was brilliant because she gave the participants, and she gave us all like an introduction to the complex, to the different, you know, the significance of it, the different sort of visual elements of it, as well as this, you know, spiritual and historical significance of it, which kind of really contextualized it all. And so it was a really beautiful space to be in, and a kind of a sort of different way of resisting, almost like learning more. So we're all learning about the situation as it's going on, but to learn more about, you know, the history and the heritage of it, and to share that is also part of it as well.
Indeed, I think you spoke about having a duty to share. And I love the fact that, you know, art is a means of resistance, and it is a means of keeping the story alive. And this is a wonderful, tangible way, as you mentioned, a tangible way of doing so. So may I ask then, what is the significance of Al-Aqsa Mosque?
I wish I'd prepared something for this.
Oh, no, bless you. No, sorry, I hope I'm not throwing...
No. So Al-Aqsa is, you know, it was the first Qibla. So when the Prophet ﷺ was given the command of Salah, that was the direction that he was facing in. And also it was the place from which he, from Isra, where Isra Miraj took place from. So he traveled to Jerusalem from Mecca, and ascended to the heavens there. But it's also got so much more significance from like Prophet Suleiman, Prophet Ibrahim, and all the, you know, I think of course like Prophet Isa as well, and Hazrat Maryam. So there's so much significance for us as Muslims, as well as significance for, you know, Christians and Jews and people who have been living in that area for so many years, you know, centuries and centuries. And also like it having been under, you know, architecturally, you've got Byzantine influence, you've got the Roman influence, you've got Ottoman influence. So visually, it's it's a real feast as well. I mean, I've not had
the colours.
Opportunity. Yeah, exactly. I've not had the opportunity to visit and see it in person myself yet. Inshallah soon. But yeah. So like Sarah gave us this excellent introduction to its significance, and just also like the visual elements and the visual stories there as well.
It's so you were basically transported back into time through this workshop, and it was an opportunity to learn about Islamic history as well as the architectural history too. It must have been really quite something for everybody in that space. Was there anything that new for you? Was there something that you discovered new through the workshop or through the presentation that Sarah was giving?
Yeah, so I feel like it was a transportation, not just into the past, but into the present as well. Simply because that window, the pattern that we were drawing, was one that was from a window that was destroyed by the occupation forces. So, and that's and restored very recently, I think just a few years ago. So that felt really like it's very it's very current. It's happening right now, as well as hundreds of years ago.
Quite visceral in a manner.
Yeah, exactly. And what did I got a lot out from it. I think as I wasn't delivering, I could just observe and like listen to people's conversations.
Oh, that must be lovely.
Thinking about solidarity, but also the pattern was one I haven't drawn before. So I learned the construction of this pattern, which I'm now going to try out, and I'm going to draw it as well. And I hadn't constructed this one previously, so that was really good to see how Sarah did it.
How amazing. Now, I'm sure we're all curious to know, where can we see the end result? Is it going to be exhibited? What was the actual outcome?
So the outcome was everyone had completed this pattern and was adding color to it, and we kind of left it up to each person to add color as you want to add color. Like there's no rules now. It's kind of, we all did the construction together and the drawing together, and then afterwards it's up to you, which is really nice because everyone's been through the same process, but each piece is really individual,
unique.
Yeah, exactly. And to see what people were doing was really great. Naturally, everyone just kind of leaned for red, black, white, and green, which are the flag colors, which is just, people just did that by themselves, and embellishing their designs with like watermelon symbolism and things like that, which is really, really lovely to see. So the end result was everyone had a completed drawing which they could then take home with them. In terms of like, and I've got photos of everyone's work, which is really nice, and it's on my Instagram if anyone wants to see it. But it was for this, there wasn't like we're going to exhibit it, we're going to do something with it intention. It was more of a, let me try this out, let's see if this works, let's see if we can do some more, and then even if we just document it digitally, that's really good. That's something for me. So even if it's like sharing it then on socials so other people can see,
of course,
that's cool as well.
It does sound like it needs to be archived, because we are in a very, very significant part of history, and this is heritage. And to capture people's emotions, capture how people are feeling, and how we're expressing, or how individuals expressing their solidarity in tangible ways like this. We take it for granted when it's in front of us, but 10 years, 20 years down the line, you were part of history. And so, I mean, how does that make you feel?
Kind of freaks me out when you say it like that. I just feel like, I mean, we're all part of history in some way or another, aren't we? Just by existing at this time, we're all going to be part of history. And we've heard, when we're talking to like our politicians or the media, we hear, be on the right side of history. We hear that quite a lot. And I wondered, what that means. And people say, oh, when people read about this in history books, they're going to wonder how it was allowed to happen. And this is how, because of, the propaganda and the media narratives and so on. And it just makes you think, like, this may not be recorded. Maybe nobody sees this. Maybe, it all gets forgotten. But hopefully for the people that were present in that space at the time, it was something meaningful for like 2 hours on a Saturday morning. And a lot of people then went to the protest afterwards. So I don't know how much a part of history we will be as individuals, but I think coming together and working in collectives, that's when we can make history, hopefully.
Indeed, and this is what your workshop was all about: community, bringing communities together. Tell me about the communities that came together. Was there anybody that stood out to you? It's like, oh, I wouldn't have expected them to come, but they were there. And what was the feedback from them?
Oh, no, so I kind of left it just open, like it's open to anyone, anyone's welcome to attend. And we sold out of spaces, which was lovely. And it was, we had one male and the rest female, which always happens. I don't know why in art spaces this always happens. There's always imbalance of if we're looking at demographics of gender. But it was just, it was quite mixed in terms of age and background. Some people who lived locally, some people who had come from further away, and like Muslim, non-Muslim. It was a nice, really nice group of people.
Well, I want to say thank you so very much for making that workshop possible. It sounds like an extraordinary space. And for anybody that's just tuned into the show, you are listening to the Urban Kube. This is Shemiza taking you all the way up to 11 o'clock. I am in the wonderful company of Shaheen Kasmani, who's talking to us this morning about a delightful workshop that happened on Saturday called Patterns of Palestine, which was co-created and led by Sarah Chowdhury. I've got to make sure, Sarah Chowdhury, and using geometric designs which are familiar around the building of Al-Aqsa Masjid. It sounded like a really exciting workshop, and I'm sure listeners would want to hear, where is there a possibility of more opportunities like this, and do you think there's potential of it going across the country?
Oh, I don't know about across the country, but hopefully to do more for sure. I'm currently looking for venues. So if there's anyone out there who can offer me a free space for a few hours, because the artist does this voluntarily. The space that we were at, Rabbits Road Press, which is a really, really incredible printing press, donated their space to us. Awesome. It's, all of the money that we raised, which went to charity support in Palestine. And we know, nothing's getting in at the moment, but we wanted to, have this as kind of like a byproduct of the workshop. So the artist is donating their time, the space donated their space. If there are any other venues out there who'd like to donate me some space for 2 hours, London-based to begin with, that would be absolutely amazing. So we can run some more and hopefully, turn it into a series of workshops and coming together and exploring solidarity.
Indeed, and it's an opportunity not to be missed, I think, guys. Shaheen Kasmani is an extraordinary artist with a real beautiful legacy of art and creativity. She's a creative producer and a curator, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about her creative journey on the second part of the Urban Kube. We are going to be heading to a break. But before we head into the break, I want to ask you, Shaheen, could you be kind enough to give your social media handles to our listeners? We will ask you to repeat those social media handles on the second part of the show as well.
Sure. So I think the best way would be Instagram. So my Instagram is shaheen.kasmani. Just really easy and simple.
Fantastic. Shaheen.Kasmani. Kasmani on Instagram. Do go follow her and get to see the extraordinary work that she does. I think you're a creative force to be reckoned with.
Thank you so much.
So it's and the reason why I'm saying that, guys, is because this delightful lady was behind the Ramadan Pavilion. If you attended the V&A in Ramadan and you were connected with Ramadan tent, you would have seen the Ramadan Pavilion. Well, this is the lady who helped create it. So can you hear why I'm excited to be interviewing her? So we'll be finding out a little bit more about how that came about. We are heading to the break. Do not go away. Grab yourself a cuppa, and inshallah, we'll be having more creative conversations with my guest, Shaheen Kasmani, on the show this morning, all the way up to 11 o'clock. So join me straight after this. Assalamu alaikum.
This program will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM.
Inspire 105.1 FM.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hifza and I'm here at the Living Islam Festival in Lincolnshire on a bit of a wet day, but it's wonderful. Keep listening to Inspire FM for more updates on 105.1 FM.
Why do Tops Pizza deliver the top pizzas in Luton and Dunstable?
For a start, all the toppings are 100% halal and Tops use fresh dough every day. Then there's the cheese, the highest quality available. And when it comes to food preparation, cleanliness is taken as part of our faith. So that just leaves the taste, choice and great offers, including buy one, get one free on all medium, large and extra large pizzas. Tops Pizzas, Wellington Street, LU1 5AA. Order online, topspizza.com or via Just Eat. Download our app or call 01582 72 5000.
Lee Grade Heating Supplies. With over 20 years of experience, we're the largest independent plumbers merchant in the area, specialising in all types of plumbing and heating, as well as combination boilers and mega flow cylinders. Whether you need a new bathroom or a complete new heating system, LHS is the place. Come along to our brand new bathroom showroom at Unit 1, 3 Chorlend Lane, Luton, to see the latest range of quality bathrooms. Or log on to leegrave.net. We're an Interpart approved stockist for all genuine spares. Our new store in Bedford is now also fully opened. Lee Grade Heating Supplies. Call Luton 84 86 88.
Picture, if you will, a small local business navigating their way through these tough economic times. They wait for the phone to ring, but it never happens. They thought they could save money by not advertising, and now they've been forgotten. They're trapped in the has-been zone.
Don't let your business get lost in the has-been zone. Remind your customers that you're still around to deliver your products and services with a low-cost, effective and ear-catching radio campaign here on Inspire FM. For details, visit inspirefm.org, then contact us.
How many times have you needed urgent medical supplies but don't know where to go? At Harris Pharmacy, we take pride in delivering a high-level healthcare to our community. This is why we have services such as private one-to-one consultation, free prescription ordering from GP and delivery to your home, mobility aids such as providing wheelchairs and many other items for everyday use. Call us today on free phone 0800 458 2850 to discuss your medical needs. We are open from 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. Monday to Friday and 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. on Saturdays. Harris Pharmacy, 165 A/B, Dunstable Road, Luton.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मेरा नाम किरण है। कोट कश्मीर ऑर्फन्स रिलीफ ट्रस्ट मेरा एक खूबसूरत घर है जहां मेरे साथ सैकड़ों यतीम और बेसहारा बच्चों की तालीम व तरबियत और पुरसुकून माहौल में परवरिश हो रही है, और ये सब कुछ आपके तावन से मुमकिन है। अल्लाह से दुआ है कि अल्लाह करीम आपको सदा सलामत रखे और उम्मीद है कि आप इसी तरह अपना प्यार, मोहब्बत और तावन जारी रखेंगे। कोट UK ऑफिस 0300123774 court.org.uk।
बख्शिश तेरी आंखों की तरफ देख रही है, मोहसन तेरे दरबार में चुपचाप खड़ा है। मैं रोज गुल बज़्म नात के साथ आपकी खिदमत में हाजिर होता हूँ हर जुमातुल मुबारक सुबह 9 से 10 बजे के दरमियान। आप भी हमारे प्रोग्राम का हिस्सा बन सकते हैं और अपनी आवाज़ में हमद या नात दूसरों की समातों की नज़र कर सकते हैं। तो सुनते रहिए इंस्पायर FM 105.1।
From the studios of Inspire FM, The time is now 10:30.
Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Cube with Sister Shemiza.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum. It is 10:30, 27th of November, and you're listening to the second half of the Urban Cube show. It is another creative conversation with an absolutely fabulous guest. The Urban Cube show is beaming out the wonderful people across Luton surrounding areas, Peterborough Salam Radio and Sheffield's Link FM. I hope you're well and warm, folks. It's got a little bit cold. The temperature has dropped, but I hope the conversations on today's show will keep you warm. I'm in great company this morning. I have the absolute pleasure by being joined by a tremendous creative who's talking to me this morning about how she is using arts as a means of solidarity. Now, if you've been following my shows for the last couple of weeks, you have noticed a bit of a pattern. I'm actually talking to artists, creatives who are using their platforms in actually raising awareness and connecting communities. Using arts is a means of solidarity. So naturally, it would be absolutely awesome to be interviewing Shaheen Kasmani. Now, she's just, at the weekend, she did an extraordinary workshop around patterns of Palestine. And it was with a wonderful creative by the name of Sarah Chowdhury. And this workshop explored the geometric designs around Al-Aqsa Masjid. And it was a wonderful opportunity for individuals participating. It was open to a wide community of individuals to learn about the history, the heritage, the past, and the present around Al-Aqsa Masjid using art. Now, for those of you who know me, I'm very passionate about activism and artivism in particular. And Shaheen said something really interesting. She said it's the tangible ways of people to feel connected with what, or support, or feel engaged with what's going on. And she used the word, she felt selfish. Is it really selfish? She felt selfish in doing so for herself. I don't think it's selfish. I think it's really a really safe and wonderful way of doing so. And also it kind of enables us as artists to kind of express ourselves as well. But we'll talk more with Shaheen. She is on the show this morning, and we're going to be talking to her all the way up to 11 o'clock, a little bit about her background in creativity as well. If you'd like to join in with any of the conversations that are happening on the show this morning, feel free to go onto the Inspire FM Facebook page, or you can WhatsApp us into the studio as well. I'll give you the number in a second because I'm actually doing the show from home, guys. I'm doing it, so I don't have the number. So I hope Barbara Tarek will WhatsApp me. We should know the number, right? By now. Before I carry on, I want to give you a bit of an intro on who this wonderful woman is that's who's joined me on the show this morning. It is no other than Shaheen Kasmani. She's an artist, a creative producer, curator, and educator with an MA in visual, traditional, and Islamic arts. Her interests lie in narratives around coloniality and heritage, art and architecture, and patterns. Now, Shaheen was the lead curator for the Ramadan Pavilion at the V&A Museum and co-created the Past Is Now exhibition at Birmingham Museum. And she's exhibited her work in the UK and Europe and guest lectures at universities in the US and was published earlier this year. She is passionate about centering overlooked narratives and all things creative. So she seems like the perfect person to be on the show this morning to talk to me about why it's important to be sharing our narratives, and also this whole concept of artivism and activism and art of solidarity. Any questions, folk, please feel free to get in touch with us. You can WhatsApp us on 0779 48 1822. That's 0779 481822. And thank you, Brother Tariq, for WhatsApping me the number. I should know this number by now. Back to the show is the Urban Kube. The time is 10:35, and I'm in the absolute wonderful company of Shaheen Kasmani. Assalamu alaikum, Shaheen.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for that very, very kind intro.
It is so deserved. And I am always in awe and get super excited when I come across and see sisters, Muslim women, women of color, really making their space in the art sector. And your background is super unique, which we actually shared in your introduction. I don't know many people who've actually done an MA around Islamic heritage. So this is so inspiring for me, and I would love to know a little bit more about what encouraged you to do that.
Yeah, so how did I get into it? It's something I've just always loved. I call it, like, in terms of Islamic art and architecture, and that, huge umbrella of a term. I feel like I describe it as like my longest lasting crush. Like, I've just always loved it. I still love it, no matter what. Like, I'm always sort of entranced by it. So I was an English teacher, teaching secondary school English, and teachers out there, there's probably no teachers listening right now because it's school time.
May I say something? I'm a former teacher.
There's so many of us. And I started doing art classes on the weekend, which I just absolutely fell in love with, in the way that, you have to drag me out of bed for anything, but these I would just get out of bed voluntarily for. And then I came across this MA, and then I applied for it and started doing the MA, and it was a full-time course, so 2 years full-time. So I was just doing like cover work in between, and that was that really.
Wow. So an MA in visual, traditional and Islamic arts. You sound like an expert. Are you an expert?
I don't think so. I don't think anyone's an expert. I mean, of course, some people are, I shouldn't say that, but in the sense that there's so much around it that hasn't been documented, that hasn't been, I know we're looking at it from a, sort of very Western academic lens when we say that, but there's a lot of like speculation around, the symbolism and, what the different patterns mean. And some of it feels very valid and very real, and some of it feels a little bit Orientalist at times, depending on who has, said what. So there is a little bit of kind of mystery around it, and I do wonder if that sort of also lends into the Orientalism. But it is something that's always kind of intrigued me, even on just like a visual basis of just how beautiful it is, and something I've always been really interested in and passionate about as well. And also, like, not just it visually, but what does it mean? What does it tell us about ourselves and our stories and our context? And if we're looking at art and architecture from like centuries ago, does that mean it's to it, or can we just in a different way?
Shaheen, we're losing you. It's cutting out. You may have to come a little
now?
bit. Yes, please. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
that was a bit of a ramble about it.
It's so interesting and really intriguing. The fact that your love and your passion is now become a career. So it can actually happen, people. You can make a career in art. And this is there is obviously a lot of intrigue. The reason being, or because a lot of individuals I'm blessed to know so many Muslim women in the art sector who are following their passion, but it is a long journey and you have to be consistent at it. I wanted to ask you I've just spoken about the V&A, which is the V&A Museum earlier on in your bio, which is an extraordinary, iconic venue in Britain.
Mhm.
And the fact that you have been able to showcase your creativity in a space like that. You co-created or you were the lead creator, let me get that correct. You were the lead creator for the Ramadan Pavilion. That was just something quite extraordinary, because when I was speaking to a member of the Ramadan Tent Project, who's leading the Open Iftars across, I think it was Brother Wasim, across the country, this is what really sparked my interest, intrigue, because I never imagined in my lifetime I'd see something like this in a space like the V&A Museum.
Yeah.
Did you ever imagine yourself as an artist of your caliber being able to be doing a project like that, lead creating? And it'd be quite nice to tell our listeners what that term means as well.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's something when you kind of enter the art scene, if you like, or the art space, it is one of those like goals, almost like, oh, I imagine being able to do that, you know. So in that sense, it's something that I think, say 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, if someone had said to me that's what I'd be doing, I'd be like, oh my God, that's amazing. But it did come with its challenges, which I can also speak about. And also, yeah, it was also an amazing experience. So I'm really happy to speak about both. And it came about, so what did a lead curator do? Right, so the pavilion itself, for anyone who didn't see it, and you can Google it to see images, was an installation, an architectural installation. It was designed by the architect, whose name is Shaheen, and it was like a partnership project with the Ramadan Tent Project and the V&A and Shahid. So it was an architectural installation based on images of mosques and Islamic architecture that were in the V&A's collection. And it was in the courtyard, so it wasn't inside the museum itself, it was in the courtyard. And it was interactive, so the way Shahid designed it was that people could sit sort of inside and on the benches. And my job was to do all the public programming around it. So all the events, working with other artists and creatives, and to put on events to kind of bring it to life. Because, you know, you can have the most beautiful exhibition in the world, but if it doesn't have sort of public engagement, then it becomes a bit useless almost, or a bit defunct, or a bit, you know. So it's, for me, like, it's people who bring things alive. It's
Indeed.
people who give meaning to spaces and objects. It's in very few cases it's the other way around, that, you know, places give us meaning and objects give us meaning. It's we give these things meaning. And bring it to life. So that was my job, was to do all the programming that took place. And we had things like art workshops, we had talks, we had some book launches, we had performances, we had music, we had dance, we had like lectures, like student groups, and like tours of the collection as well as the Iftars by Ramadan Tent Project. And so I was like the person in the middle with these organizations, but I was employed by Ramadan Tent Project, but based at the V&A. And we had, I think we brought in with the Iftars an extra 10,000 people.
Wow.
Out the 2 months that it was up, an extra 10,000 people came through the museum doors or through the museum compound. And credit to Shahid's design, like it was very bright and colourful. So people could see it off the street. Yeah, I mean, this is what was really amazing about it, that people could see it off the street. What is that there? And just go in and have a look, and interact with it. And it was really beautiful because you can see like families, children are playing, got people sitting and resting, they're like having a snack, or they're reading, or they're just waiting for someone, or just looking around. And then the events that actually activated it, like we had like drumming workshops and kids activities. So it was quite intergenerational as well. We did a big Eid celebration there. So yeah, I mean, there were some people who'd come especially to see it, and there were others who would just see it from the road and be intrigued and want to know more. So it was a real mixed bag. And yeah, like you were saying, like imagine being in the V&A, like that was to be in such a location in central London, and it was the same time as that the Ramadan lights were on as well, so it kind of felt like this funny moment where
a real big shift.
Yeah, almost.
That we've arrived.
Almost, and it's really strange because you think that our communities have been here for decades and decades, and it's taken this long for something like this to happen. However, at the same time, isn't like you could see people's faces when they walked in to see this, almost mosque-like structure at the V&A of all places. Their faces would just light up. They're like, oh my God, I'm here. Like I'm seeing myself here almost. Like, I always feel like representation is quite superficial, like the politics around it, but seeing, a part of, seeing you reflected in a space like that is really something. Like you can see people's reactions to it, which was also really like something to see.
Because there is a barrier where people from the South Asian community or the Muslim community don't feel that places like the V&A or other venues, arts venues, have a space for them, that they feel that it can be it's relatable to them.
Absolutely,
yeah. And so to be able to do this, to do a project like this, it must have, I mean, what was the V&A's response and reaction? Did they review their programming for the future? Can we see more of this? Is there going to be more opportunities for curators like yourself to come forward and take the lead on potentially new projects?
Well, this is a very interesting question, and I think this is where the challenges lie, because for huge institutions like the V&A, this project brought them in, like I said earlier, an extra 10k people through the door. Which they wouldn't have had, and this is not mainly, but a lot of the extra 10k people would have been people who, like you said, may not really access museums otherwise, don't feel welcome in spaces like this. And what I think is really important is to unpack why don't we feel comfortable in spaces like this or welcomed in spaces like this. Why is it, and it's not just like like South Asian communities, yes, but even wider.
Yes. Is it because there's that element of high culture that isn't relatable, or the cost of spaces?
Well, it's like we say, because if you look at the collection, for example, in the V&A, there's a huge Islamic art collection. It is absolutely immense, and what's on display is only a small percentage of what they have in storage. So you can imagine how immense these collections are. So how much looting took place across the British Empire for that to happen?
Because that's a completely different,
it is. That's a whole other
a different show. Did you hear me sigh?
So we think about things like this, and it's like, this is our heritage. in these blast spaces, we as a people are not welcome. And it's, when I say not welcome, I mean that in the way that we know we don't feel welcome in these spaces. Who's making the decisions? Who's doing, for example, the programming, or not even that, who's writing the label for these objects? Because some of them are very, even now, really sort of Orientalist in nature, very sort of
the language is not
language around them. Yeah. So, and when you're in these spaces and you look around, and it's, who are the other people of color? It's the cleaners and the security guards. And why is that? Why are the curators all, middle class white English people? Do you know what I mean? Like, why is that representation why does it only go to a certain level and then it stops? So in terms of this happening again, or like in the future, I don't know. I really don't know. And what's really interesting about the V&A in particular is that it doesn't provide a prayer space. Now, the other museums on the same road, the History Museum, the Science Museum, all provide a prayer space or a quiet room. The V&A doesn't, and it refuses to. So to have a project like this, and then afterwards still not provide a prayer space for your visitors, is a very big message to me about how institutions tokenize communities and sort of community projects and efforts, and where it is on their list of priorities, in terms of reaching people, but not just reaching them, like making people feel welcome in the space.
That's really quite. I'm a little bit. I've gone a little bit quiet. I'm a little bit lost for words, because it's really quite contradictory that you've got this space outside that you've enabled curators, and yet you've not learned anything from it.
Well, this is why whenever I'm asked about this project, I mean, it was incredible, but it was also really intense and really challenging to navigate that sort of space. Like working with the Ramadan Tent Project was amazing. They're a lovely team. But I was in that kind of museum space because they were running the iftars up and down the country. So
you were leading.
So I was leading on this.
Yes.
And it was a real challenge because these institutions, first of all, they're huge. So they have a million different teams for each different thing, and trying to get, an answer for a question is really difficult. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of, having to ask permission. Can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? And when you're having to ask permission, you're not the one. You're not the one in power. Not in power. You're not in control. You're not the one. You have to ask somebody else because you're in their space for permission, or can I run this event? Can I do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? And that feels a certain way. Like, then that there's a very clear hierarchy almost, and it's.
I mean, this was quite. This was quite an ambitious project. Like I said, you wouldn't have imagined 10 years ago that a space like that would give you this opportunity to do that, and the fact that it's happened, is
exactly. You're right.
But lessons. I hope that the conversations will continue. I hope there is a group of individuals that are putting information forward to them to make improvements for the future. Would you like to do something like this again there? Can you imagine?
I don't know. I mean, like you were saying, we wouldn't have imagined this happening. And even as you said earlier, it was like almost so many people had that same feeling of we've arrived, we're here now,
Yes.
And that was very real. You could see it and feel it from people. And being in the V&A meant that we were in like a prime location. We were in a prime location in central London that not only, Londoners are seeing, but you've got tourists from all around the world are seeing. It's, during the holidays, it's absolutely heaving like during school holidays. So, but would I do it again? I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's now time to like build in like and work towards alternative infrastructures.
Well, oh, bless. And, congratulations to yourself. Congratulations to the V&A as well for enabling this opportunity. I mean, I do have to do a disclaimer regarding the V&A Museum Press Space. But I mean, we're not here to comment around that. But it's been an absolute treat to have you, Shaheen, joining us. It is the end of the show. And please do follow Shaheen.Kasmani on Instagram and all the socials. And thank you so much for being a brilliant guest today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really lovely.
Oh, that was the awesome Shaheen Kasmani talking to us about all her projects and the Arts of Solidarity workshops that she's been doing around patterns of Palestine. It is the end of the show, folks. And please do join me again next week, same time. Assalamu alaikum.
Coming up next, Awaz-e Haq with Hafiz Ijaz.